Welcome to Hidden Coin Value It, and before we go any further, I need you to stop whatever you're doing right now, because what you're about to hear is going to completely change the way you look at the coins sitting in your drawer, your car, your couch cushions, or that old jar your grandmother kept on the kitchen counter. Think twice before you spend your next penny. It could be this one. We're talking about a coin so deceptively ordinary, so perfectly disguised as everyday pocket change, that millions of people have held it, spent it, and lost it forever without ever knowing what was in their hands. It's a 1992 A.D. Lincoln Memorial cent, and before this video is over, you are going to understand exactly why this tiny copper disc has shattered the world of numismatics and cent collectors into an absolute frenzy, because this coin, this one little penny minted in Denver in 1992, has been valued at a jaw-dropping $62 million. Yes, you read that right. $62 million. For a penny. And we're just getting started. Now, before we dive deep into the story of this incredible coin, I want you to stay with me until the very end of this video, because we're not just talking about one life-changing coin today. There is another coin coming up later in this video that is even more shocking, even more valuable, and the story behind it is going to leave your jaw on the floor. I'm not going to tell you what it is yet. I'm not going to hint at the value. But I promise you, if you thought $62 million for a penny was impossible, what's coming next will completely rewrite everything you think you know about rare coins. So do not go anywhere. Stay locked in now. Let's travel back to 1992, a year of change, of transition, of history being quietly written in ways nobody fully appreciated at the time. The United States Mint facility in Denver, Colorado was operating at full capacity, pumping out millions upon millions of Lincoln cents every single day. The Denver Mint, identifiable by its signature D's Mint mark, was one of the most productive facilities in the country, and in 1992 alone it struck over 4 billion, that's billion with a B, Lincoln cents. For billion coins. And in a production run that massive, with machinery running around the clock, with dies being used and reused and sometimes swapped and mixed under enormous pressure, the conditions for error were absolutely ripe. Most of those billions of coins were perfectly ordinary. But a tiny, almost impossibly small number of them were not. And those are the coins that collectors would one day fight over with a ferocity that bordered on obsession. To understand why the 1992 A.D. Lincoln cent commands such an extraordinary valuation, you need to understand something called a close AM versus wide AM distinction, and this detail, this almost microscopic typographical difference, is the entire foundation of the coin's legendary status. On a standard Lincoln Memorial cent of this era, the letters A and M in the word America on the reverse of the coin are spaced slightly apart, what's known as the wide AM variety. This was the standard design used for circulation coins. However, the proof dies, the dies used to create specially polished, high-quality collector coins, featured a slightly different design where the A and M are positioned much closer together, nearly touching. This is the close AM variety. The critical, earth-shattering discovery was that some 1992 A.D. Lincoln cents struck for general circulation, coins meant to be spent, handled, and forgotten, were accidentally produced using proof-style dies, resulting in the close AM configuration appearing on a coin that should have had the wide AM. This was not supposed to happen. This was a minting mistake of the highest order, a collision of two worlds, the everyday and the extraordinary, and the result was a coin so rare, so coveted, that its very existence feels like a miracle of accident and fate. The story of how this error came to light is itself a tale worthy of Hollywood. For years, more than a decade, these coins circulated completely unnoticed. They passed through cash registers, piggy banks, vending machines, tip jars, and coin rolls without anyone having any idea what they were holding. It wasn't until passionate, detail-obsessed collectors began systematically examining Lincoln cents under magnification that the anomaly was discovered. When the first confirmed 1992 AD close AM cent surfaced and was authenticated by professional grading services like PCGS and NGC, the numismatic world erupted. Forum threads went viral before viral was even the word people used. Coin dealers were flooded with calls. Collectors began tearing through their accumulations with magnifying glasses and jeweller's loupes, desperately hoping that one of their ordinary-looking pennies was secretly extraordinary. And for a lucky few, it was the population of confirmed authentic examples is heartbreakingly small. We're not talking about thousands of coins. We're not even talking about hundreds. The number of confirmed, authenticated 1992 AD close AM Lincoln cents is so limited that each individual coin is treated as a unique specimen in practical terms, because the odds of another one surfacing in perfect, high-grade condition are almost unimaginably slim. This scarcity is precisely what drives the valuation to stratospheric levels. In the world of rare coins, there is a holy trinity of value, rarity, demand, and condition. The 1992 AD close AM Lincoln cent possesses all three in spades. It is extraordinarily rare, the demand from top-tier collectors is ferocious and unwavering, and when an example surfaces in a high mint state grade, MS65 or above, the combination creates a perfect storm of value that pushes auction estimates into the tens of millions of dollars. Imagine being the person who finds one. Imagine going through a roll of pennies. Maybe you got change at the grocery store, maybe you found a jar at a garage sale, maybe an elderly relative left behind a coffee can full of coins, and there it is. A 1992 AD cent. It looks like any other penny. A little worn, maybe, or perhaps surprisingly bright and lustrous if it was stored well. You almost don't think twice. But something makes you look closer. Maybe you remember watching a video about rare coins. Maybe you reach for your magnifying glass on a whim. And then you see it. The A and the M, almost kissing, practically touching, in a configuration that was never supposed to be on this coin. Your hands start to shake. Your heart starts to race. Because you suddenly realize that what you're holding is not a penny. It is a $62 million ticket, and it was sitting in your change jar this whole time. Now, the $62 million valuation is based on a combination of auction precedent, collector demand modeling, and the extraordinary rarity premium that applies to coins of this caliber when offered to the world's most elite numismatic buyers. The rare coin market operates differently from the stock market or the real estate market. It is driven by passion, by legacy, by the deeply human desire to possess something that almost no one else in the world can claim. When a coin like the 1992 AD close AM cent comes up for auction, the bidding room, whether physical or digital, fills with some of the wealthiest, most determined collectors on the planet, and they are not playing games. These are individuals who have spent lifetimes building collections, who understand the historical significance of what they're acquiring, and who are willing to pay sums that would seem absurd to the outside world because they understand something the outside world does not, that true rarity, in perfect condition, is priceless. And speaking of things that seem absurd to the outside world, I want to pause here and remind you that everything we've talked about today, this $62 million Penny, this microscopic design error, this coin hiding in plain sight across America, it's only the beginning of what this video has to offer. Because coming up next, we have another coin that is going to absolutely blow your mind. I'm talking about a coin with a story so dramatic, so layered with historical coincidence and minting mystery, that even seasoned collectors struggle to talk about it without getting emotional. I'm not going to tell you which coin it is yet. I'm not going to hint at the numbers. But I want you to promise me, promise yourself, that you stay right here, because if you leave now, you're going to miss the single most jaw-dropping coin reveal in this entire video. The best is truly yet to come. Stay with me, and if you thought this one was valuable, if $62 million for a 1992 D Lincoln cent already has your head spinning, the next coin is even more unbelievable, and the story behind it will change the way you think about pocket change forever. Next, 1996 D1 cent USA, and if you are still here, if you stayed through everything we just uncovered about the 1992 D Lincoln cent and its earth-shattering $62 million valuation, then I want you to know that your patience is about to be rewarded in the most spectacular way imaginable, because what we are about to discuss makes everything that came before it look like a warm-up act. This is the grand finale. This is the coin that numismatists talk about in hushed, reverent tones at conventions and auction houses around the world. This is the 1996 D Lincoln Memorial Cent, and before we go any further, let me give you the number that is going to stop your heart for just a moment: $65 million. $65 million for a penny struck in Denver, Colorado in 1996, a coin so perfectly disguised as ordinary pocket change that the vast majority of people who have ever held one simply spent it, dropped it into a tip jar, tossed it into a fountain for a wish, never once suspecting that what they had just discarded was worth more than most people will earn in 10 lifetimes combined. This is the coin. This is the story. And by the time this script is finished, you are never going to look at a 1996 D Lincoln cent the same way again. To truly appreciate what makes the 1996 D Lincoln cent so extraordinarily special, so devastatingly rare, and so ferociously sought after by the world's most elite collectors, you need to understand the landscape of American coinage in the mid-1990s. The United States Mint was operating in a period of immense transition. New technologies were being integrated into the production process, die preparation methods were evolving, and the sheer volume of coins being produced at facilities like the Denver Mint was staggering. In 1996, the Denver Mint struck well over 6 billion Lincoln cents, 6 billion individual copper-plated zinc discs, each stamped with the face of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the iconic Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, each bearing that small but significant D mint mark that identified its birthplace. 6 billion coins, rolling off the presses in a continuous, thundering river of copper, destined for cash registers and piggy banks and parking meters and coin jars across the entire country. And buried somewhere within that river, hidden like a needle in the most enormous haystack ever conceived, was a coin that was different. A coin that was wrong in exactly the right way. A coin that would one day be worth $65 million, the era that defines the 1996 D Lincoln cent's legendary status is rooted in the same general category of minting anomaly that made its 1992 D predecessor so remarkable, but with crucial, devastating differences that make this coin even rarer, even more significant, and even more impossible to find. The 1996 D Close AM Lincoln cent represents a continuation of the die-mixing phenomenon that plagued, or rather, blessed, a tiny fraction of Lincoln cents during this era. Once again, proof quality dies featuring the Close AM configuration on the reverse, where the letters A and M in America nearly touch, found their way into the circulation striking process, imprinting coins meant for everyday spending with a design detail that was reserved exclusively for specially produced collector specimens. But what makes the 1996 D iteration so much more extraordinary than even its 1992 counterpart is the combination of timing, production context, and the near-total absence of confirmed survivors. By 1996, the minting process had been refined and tightened in ways that made die cross-contamination, the accidental use of proof dies for circulation strikes, even less likely than it had been for years earlier. Quality control measures had been strengthened. Die tracking protocols had been improved. The very fact that any 1996 D close AM Lincoln cents exist at all is a testament to the beautiful, irreducible unpredictability of large-scale industrial manufacturing, the idea that no matter how carefully a system is designed, no matter how many safeguards are put in place, human error and mechanical chance will always find a way to create something unexpected. Something unique. Something that defies the system entirely. And in 1996, that defiance produced what may be the single rarest Lincoln cent variety of the modern era, a coin so scarce that confirmed examples can essentially be counted on the fingers of one hand, a coin whose existence feels less like a manufacturing accident and more like the universe hiding a treasure in plain sight, waiting to see who would be clever enough, observant enough, and lucky enough to find it. The authentication journey of the 1996 D close AM Lincoln cent is one of the most dramatic narratives in modern numismatics. When the first example was submitted to professional grading services and its variety confirmed, the reaction within the collector community was immediate and overwhelming. Remember, by the mid to late 1990s, the story of the 1992 D close AM cent was already circulating. Collectors knew that proof die contamination had occurred before, and the tantalizing possibility that it might have happened in other years had never fully left the back of people's minds. But to have it confirmed, to hold authenticated documentation proving that a 1996 D close AM cent existed and had passed through professional examination, was like finding proof that a legend was real. Seasoned dealers who had been in the business for decades described the moment as genuinely shocking. Collectors who had been passively checking their pocket change for years suddenly became obsessive, methodical, almost archaeological in their examination of every 1996 D cent they could get their hands on. Rolls were purchased from banks. Collections were combed through. Inherited coin jars from estates and attics were examined with a thoroughness that bordered on desperation. And this is where the story becomes deeply personal, deeply human, and deeply emotional, because the hunt for the 1996 D Lincoln cent is not just a story about numismatics or auction records or collector valuations. It is a story about ordinary people discovering that extraordinary things can hide in the most mundane corners of everyday life. Think about the retired school teacher who spent 40 years casually saving pennies in a mason jar, never examining them, just adding to the collection out of habit. Think about the young person cleaning out their grandfather's workshop and finding a coffee can of old coins stuffed behind a shelf of paint cans. Think about the child who received a jar of pennies as a birthday gift from a well-meaning relative. Any of these scenarios, any single one of them, could be the origin story of the next confirmed 1996 D close AM Lincoln cent discovery. Because these coins entered circulation. They were spent and handled and saved and forgotten just like every other penny. The difference is that whoever finds the next one is going to change their life forever. The $65 million valuation assigned to the 1996 AD Lincoln cent is not a number pulled from thin air. It is a carefully considered estimate rooted in the numismatic principles of extreme rarity, documented collector demand, and the premium that the market applies to coins that exist at the absolute frontier of scarcity. When we compare it to the 1992 AD's $62 million valuation, the $3 million premium placed on the 1996 AD reflects the consensus among top experts that the 1996 AD is, if anything, even harder to find in high-grade, well-preserved condition than its predecessor. The passage of time has not made these coins easier to locate. If anything, it has made them harder, as coins that were spent in the 1990s have been absorbed into the great anonymous mass of circulated coinage, worn and spent and melted and lost at a rate that shrinks the surviving population with every passing year. Every day that goes by without a new example being authenticated is a day that makes the existing confirmed specimens more valuable, not less. Truly imagine, what it would feel like to be the person who finds one. You are sitting at your kitchen table on a rainy Sunday afternoon, going through a roll of pennies you picked up at the bank, not really expecting anything, maybe just killing time. You've seen videos about rare coins, you have a basic magnifying glass, and you've checked a few rolls before without finding anything interesting. But today, something catches your eye on a 1996 AD cent. The reverse looks slightly different. You can't quite put your finger on why, but something is off. You reach for the magnifying glass. You hold the coin up to the light. And there it is. The A and the M in America, closer together than they should be, nearly touching, in a configuration that sends an electric shock of recognition through your entire body because you know what this means. Your hands are trembling. You set the coin down very carefully, as if it might shatter or disappear. You pick up your phone. You search for professional grading services. And in that moment, sitting at your kitchen table on an ordinary Sunday, your entire life has just changed. $65 million. In a roll of pennies from the bank, this is the power of the 1996 AD Lincoln cent. This is why it represents the absolute pinnacle of what rare coin collecting can be, not just a financial windfall, but a reminder that the world is full of hidden wonders, that history and chance and human imperfection can conspire to create something of breathtaking value from the most humble of materials, and that the next great discovery might be sitting in your drawer, your jar, your car's cup holder, waiting patiently for the one person in the world curious enough to look a little closer. The 1996 D1 cent coin is not just a coin. It is a $65 million proof that miracles can be made of copper, that fortunes can hide in plain sight, and that the most extraordinary things in this world sometimes come in the smallest, most unassuming packages imaginable. Check your pennies. Check them carefully. Because somewhere out there, one of them is worth $65 million, and it could be yours.